Right, I'm now going to talk about real inspiration for multi-channel retailers. In case you don't know, my name is Martin Newman. I'm the CEO of Practicology. My colleagues, most of whom I think look as if they've left the room, probably because they know I'm going to talk about myself for the next half an hour. So I'm sure you don't mind that. So I've been in this space nearly 20 years. As of next year, this was my old CLK in Glasgow. The registration number was W66 for web, WWW, and that was 1997-98. And my daughter Antonia was 2 years of age at the time. She's currently holidaying in Athens, which fills me with no amount of fear, as you could probably imagine as a father of a 20-year-old. Anyway, got a little bit ahead of myself, got into the space quite early, made a bit of money, and then some of you have probably been around as long as I have in the internet, lost the money when the web kind of crashed and burned. A little bit about my credentials, in case you don't know who I am. I had the privilege of running Harrods, Pentland Brands, Burberry, and Ted Baker's online business. I'm the CEO and founder of Practicology, and I'm also a neg for white stuff and conviviality. Now, those of you that don't know, if you haven't been to Glasgow, as I was recently presenting to the board of Celtic Football Club, my favourite team, sorry if there's any Rangers fans in the room, I was doing a presentation on their retail strategy, and of course I've been away from Glasgow for so long I'd entirely forgotten the acronym NED in Glasgow means thug. So I was getting some interesting looks from the board of Celtic at that moment in time, and I couldn't really quite work out why. A little bit about, that's enough about me, a little bit about Practicology. Who are we? What do we do? We are a strategic e-commerce, a multi-channel consultancy. We have a business in the UK. We've got about 35 people in London. We've got 22 in Australia. And we've got 3 in Hong Kong. So those of you might have seen Chris and Arthur talking about what's happening in China. Just a very quick slide on what we do, and it really is everything from strategy through to training, a lot of customer acquisition, conversion, and everything else in between. All the sorts of services you'd expect to get from a consulting and an agency, all kind of mashed up into one. But the thing that really differentiates us and our USP is that we're all retailers. So everyone in our team that delivers client-facing work have all sat where you've sat. And these are some of our clients, many of whom I'm delighted to say are here today. Retailers are evolving their structures to deliver on customer centricity and are arguably at different stages of evolution. So if you go back, I was very fortunate. September last year, I was able to share a stage with the founder of the World Wide Web, the reason why we're all here, a man called Sir Tim Berners-Lee. And I got the first question. There was 3 of us on stage. There was myself, 4 of us. There was myself, Sir Tim Berners-Lee, Babita Sharma, a BBC presenter, and a chap whose name I can't remember, who was one of the co-founders of Bon Privé in France. And that's why I can't remember his name, because it's probably too difficult to pronounce in the first place. Anyway, I got the first question, and that is, what's next for retail? What's next for the web, and what does it mean for retailers? And I looked at her thinking, I had a rabbit in the headlights moment. I thought, why are you asking me when you've got the founder of the World Wide Web sitting next to you? So I did have a slight moment of horror. But then I answered it by saying, it's not about the web. We live in a multi-channel world. The problem with the channels is that as retailers, we've managed to structure around channels and not around the customer. So when you think about how organizations are evolving, many of you probably still work in a business where e-commerce is a bit of a silo. So basically, it tends to come from a time when e-commerce primarily meant selling on desktop sites. It was a business within a business. And then it evolved to the good old omni-channel, multi-channel team. Some of you probably have the opportunity to have an omni in your job title somewhere, where you have greater scope of accountability and you work more closely with the rest of the business. You retain accountability for online trade. This is essentially where we think it's going. So we think that in the next few years, the job titles within this space won't need to have a pre-qualifier. Multi-channel as a pre-qualifying job title probably won't exist. E-commerce as a pre-qualifying job title won't exist. And digital skills are distributed. You will have heard of the role of Chief Customer Officer. We've got a few of them here today. And that's one of the new roles which is helping to start to join together channels and join together the customer experience. Here's an interesting one for you. Who knows a retailer, or are there any retailers here that has a role in your store business called Head of Customer Experience? Anybody? Does anybody know a retailer that has a role with a job title of Head of Customer Experience in the stores? It tends to only live in the online world. Interesting, isn't it? Only matters online, it doesn't matter in the store. Okay, so I am a retailer. I still think of myself as a retailer, but as a consultant, I decided I'd try to do something useful, and I came up with a new framework. So who studied the marketing mix at university? Who studied the 4 Ps? Yeah? Product, price, place, promotion, or the Chartered Institute of Marketing managed to add another 3. So it became product, price, place, promotion, people, physical evidence, and process. But the people actually doesn't refer to customers. So nowhere in the marketing mix does it talk about the poor old customer. Interesting, I thought. And that's because it comes from the 1950s, when as retailers, we all held the balance of power. The customer didn't. The customer had stores to buy from. They didn't have the internet, and the internet obviously changed everything. So we've created something called the 6 Ws, or the customer mix. And I'm going to walk through that very briefly. But just to give you an idea of what I think it covers that maybe the marketing mix doesn't. So first of all, it talks about who or whom. The most important thing, who is it we're actually trying to sell to? Who are we trying to engage with? Why do they want to buy from us? What do they want to buy? Where do they want to buy it? Channels. When do they want to have their order fulfilled? Which is kind of important these days. And what's next? Because as retailers, we're great at thinking about customer acquisition, but we don't tend to put as much emphasis on retention. So once somebody's given us their hard-earned cash, what are we actually doing to get them to come back to us? So how are retailers delivering against the customer mix? Well, let's start with who, understanding your target segments. This is a quote from Shop Direct from product director Matt Dixon on the launch of their data-driven women's wear collection, V by Very, which hits the site in September this year. We're not only tracking the latest trends and catwalk styles, but every day we're listening to our customers' views, and we're looking at how they shop, creating a data-driven brand that's truly relevant for them. Wow, that's really innovative. So what we're not doing is what we often do in retail is we actually say, well, here's the products we think our customers want to buy. We're engaging customers in that process. We're looking at data. We're looking at actually what the data tells us, and then we're ranging something more relevant around our customers. Land Securities in the property sector use, some of you might be aware of Hoxton Analytics, who are able to start tracking footfall data and analytics in store by looking at your feet and your footwear. And they're using Hoxton Analytics to analyse shoppers' footwear. And they're making assumptions about demographics such as gender and social class off the back of that, which is then helping them think about how they develop their properties moving forward. The why, so customer desires include products, they include channels and timeframes. So can you also offer value-added services to meet their needs? So River Island, click and don't collect. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Click and don't collect. Took me a wee while to work out what that actually means. I think what that actually means is it's empowering the customer. And it's saying that you can click and collect it from our store, but you know what? If somehow the timing doesn't work out or you're not going to be able to make it to our store, we'll still send it to you at a convenient time for you. We'll actually ship it from our store to you via shuttle for fulfillment. That cuts down on customer returns, and it means that customers ultimately end up being much more satisfied. So that's fairly innovative. Boots, client of ours, rolling out iPads, apps to store staff. So 3,700 iPads rolled out to 2,500 stores. It's got real-time stock visibility for the web and the store. So in theory, customers should never leave a Boots store empty-handed. They should always be able to get access to a product they want to buy. They can also access web product information, ratings and reviews in the store there and then from the store colleague. And I think just one thing that I think is really interesting for me about iPads. iPads and mobile tills are essentially breaking down barriers in retail. They're enabling, and they're also, in a way, they're forcing the customer to start to engage with store colleagues. The fact that retailers such as Apple or brands such as Apple, who were the protagonists of mobile tills, it means that customers can check out more quickly, and they actually have to engage with somebody in order to give them their credit card details. That makes sure that you can capture that customer's data, and you can also cross-sell them. So there's lots of advantages that this technology is bringing. The what talks about creating new services rather than just new products to meet customer needs. So this is a brand called Enjoy.com, and I think what they do, which is really clever, is they've really thought end-to-end about how can we deliver a proposition which is more than just selling an appliance, a television, or another related product to a customer. You know, they've got free hand delivery, they've got free expert setup. I mean, there's a number of retailers in the UK that have looked to do this in the last few years, and free support. Free setup, free support, takes the barrier away, takes the stress away from the customer. Oops, sorry. Doddle. Our expansive Doddle, some of you may know, have click and collect centres at a number of transport hubs, mainly train stations. But one of the new service developments that they have is where they've got Doddle Neighbour. So you may decide to become the sort of Doddle neighbourhood person, and you can actually get paid for orders that are clicked and collected or bought and collected from your house. Alternatively, if you just want to buy online and you happen to live in a geography where maybe you aren't anywhere near the stores, or you know that you're going to be out, for example, you know that you can have your order delivered safely to one of your neighbours that might be living in the same street. But there's also a revenue opportunity now for consumers to become part of that fulfilment ecosystem. Where talks about supporting customers at every point in the customer journey. Target's Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer, Casey Carroll, said that 98% of their customers shop digitally, 3/4 start their journey on mobile, and 1/3 of the mobile search, 1/3 of its mobile search clicks lead to a store visit. So we know that mobile is absolutely the driver now, not only for online, not only for digital and distant selling, but also for driving traffic and footfall into store and whilst customers are in store. So they think of mobile as being the new front door to the brand, almost the first point of engagement. And mobile PPC ads can now expose where products are available to purchase in stores as well. So here you see Citizen Watches in store. So our lovely friends at Google, obviously not wanting to miss any opportunities, are now allowing us to tag our PPC ads and demonstrate availability, product availability. And ultimately it does empower the customer and it makes it easier for them to understand what, rather than wasting my time drilling into one of those other ads where there may not be any of those products available in store, I can find out straight away. And I can go a bit further and they can actually show me how far away it is. So it's only 0.2 miles away from where I am at that moment in time. So clearly that's going to be a driver for me to want to go to that particular store to buy that Swarovski bangle. Here, highlighting the location of the closest stockists, as well as store-specific information, such as opening times. Again, making our lives more convenient. You don't want to go to that store and find out it's shut, and you certainly don't want to go to that store and find out they don't have the product that you want to buy. So I think Google are finding great ways of leveraging data to improve the customer journey from the point of the customer actually seeing an ad on there in the first place. And Facebook are jumping on that as well, harnessing localization and location information from their mobile database to add value to advertising products. So this also includes supporting ROPO, research online purchase offline, with store locator ads, location-specific ads for multi-store retailers, and demographic insight on Facebook users within a certain radius of their stores. So starting to bring the community into it and starting to surface that multi-channel information in their environment. Waitrose. So I don't know if any of you have the Waitrose app, but they're actually encouraging customers to use Quick Check to start their journey in a store. So actually getting them, encouraging customers to open the app, scan, start your shop QR code at the store entrance. You need to do that before you can add items to your trolley. And you can actually start to tote up your basket as you're going along, as you're scanning all the items. So really putting the power into the hands of the customer and improving the experience. When talks about timeliness, which is key to demand. So products can only be purchased if they can be delivered within certain timeframes. Westfield and Google got together and created some technology to allow customers staying in a hotel to talk to personal stylists in a different location, view and order luxury products from a Westfield centre, and then have them delivered to the room within 90 minutes. That's pretty empowering, isn't it? So again, really everything that we're talking about here, all of this innovation is actually about putting the power into your hands, our hands, putting the power into the hands of the customer. Uber Eats and the evolution of the last mile. So again, we've obviously seen this with Just Eat, we've seen this with Deliveroo. So there's been a lot of disruption in the food industry now, finding ways of letting small independent food retailers be able to take their proposition direct to the consumer in their home. I think we're going to see more disruption there. And then what's next? How are you going to ensure that you maximize customer lifetime value? So what I thought was really interesting from a customer service point of view is that KLM and eBay actually use Facebook Messenger for customer communications because they believe that's where their customers want to interact. So it's not so much about just email and other traditional forms of comms, but actually, again, reaching out to customers in a much more personalised individual sense through Messenger. Jack Smith, New Look's digital director, talks about how the replatforming project will lead to constant web and customer experience development driven by customer insight, and that they want to move away from making changes to their digital platform every 6 weeks to initially every 2 weeks, and ultimately to releases every single day based on the insight that they're seeing. So really tuning their digital experience, obviously having to have the right agility within the business in terms of the technology, the processes and the systems to be able to deliver that. So I hope you enjoyed that, just a few snippets in terms of some of the interesting things that are coming up. And if you are interested in downloading our customer mix white paper, you can find it there on practicology.com/thinking/reports. Thank you very much.